Howdy everybody, we're back with some RPG horror stories. Our first story is going to be from user Feral Changeling and is titled Felt Bad for the Bandit. So I'm not sure what to put for the tag, but this was the closest one that applied, I think. You'll see why in a bit. So my earlier D&D games were kind of bad. Rough start with my one and only game in high school that was a thinly veiled ripoff of New Vegas. I attempted to DM, but still was a learning experience. The second game I ever ran was a couple years after graduating and figured it could help with socializing by having the more socially inept family members all play together. There was me, mostly socially inept, my second oldest niece, yo-yos back and forth between socially inept and antisocial, and my oldest niece, the social butterfly. My sisters are a couple decades older than me, so I fall into the same age range as my nieces, so they're closer to cousins than anything else. Alright, I'm a little bit nervous here to begin with. OP used the sexual assault warning for this post and just named nieces as members of the party. So other than that, though, I feel like every DM's first campaign is really, really rough. Mainly because you're still kind of getting used to DMing and it's a lot to handle initially. Having gone through similar issues like that, I would highly recommend that if people who are wanting to try DMing, instead of doing a campaign, as much fun as that probably sounds and something you want to do, start with doing a couple one-shots, even like a series of one-shots, and just see how you like it. That way you aren't worrying about like an overarching storyline that has to be multiple sessions long and in the making, and you're just doing little concise tidbit missions, stories, and you're kind of getting a feel for what it's like to DM, how to interact with a party, everything like that. Back to our story though. Figure I'd start off simple with some basic stuff. Village besieged by bandits and robbing supply wagons. The two player characters meet in a tavern, take you the job, etc. Second oldest niece played a half-drow rogue because she likes sneaky stabby stuff. My oldest niece played a tiefling bard, who I believe the tiefling bard was the social butterfly? Yes. If alarm bells are ringing now, you got good instincts. Despite Rogue's niece's demeanor, she opened up a bit and found herself interacting with the world more than you'd think. Talked with the bartender about local jobs, learned how often supplies come in, the bad crop season, etc. Bard niece was too busy trying to, quote, get information from the locals, but didn't think to determine who would be good for that information. I think I know what OP is getting at. For those unaware, bards stereotypically are very friendly with NPCs and enemies alike. Meme being that the bard wants to like sleep with the enemy dragon kind of thing. I'll say this, never judge a book by its cover, but that bard meme can be kind of funny sometimes. Let's continue though. Now, because I was new to DMing and inexperienced, I only really had two NPCs that were worth a damn to talk to on the tavern. The bartender and a gruff ranger in the corner who knew the area well but couldn't walk due to having his legs chewed off by a kobold. That's a weird way to lose a leg. I like it. The bard niece decides to try and seduce other tavern goers to see if they knew anything. I figured roll to persuade worked best and she got zilch. Yeah, tavern randos may not know much. Bard niece took offense and tried again with another barfly. Still zilch, and Rogue niece decided to ask why she was trying to seduce them. Bard niece replied, because I get what I want and no one can resist me. Alrighty, okay. If a player is acting like this and you have not yet laid out ground rules for how your PCs are allowed to interact with the world and any potential limitations, which you should do before playing, now is the time. In the games I run, I do not care if my PCs want to hook up, seduce, romance, etc. other NPCs in the world. But I always make it clear and let them know that anything that touches anything remotely close to a sex scene is an immediate fade to black. And I will often crack a joke about them being able to commission art and write a fanfic later on if they want to, but that everything will be fade to black. Also, always draw a line at sexual violence, such as sexual assault and rape. Not that I expect my players to try to engage in this manner, but I prefer a very hard line in the sand when it comes to this topic. I've personally dealt with things in this realm before, and I do not want to have other players who may have experienced the same to have to watch as another player does some potentially very skeevy shit in front of them. Let's get back to our story though. So the rogue niece left the tavern to see if she could track the bandits raiding supply wagons using tips she learned from the retired ranger. Rogue's niece said she might have made her rogue into a scout after leveling up, but that's unimportant. That's kind of cool. Interacting with the world, finding you like doing things a certain way, and that's what you decide to do for your subclass. That's kind of cool. Now, the bard asked who was running the village. I say probably a mayor or elder of some kind, and she wanted to meet him. Rogue niece asked around to learn who to talk to for a reward if the bandit quest went well, and that was how bard niece found him. The very next thing she wanted to do was roll to seduce him. I asked why, and she said she wanted to get in his good graces to have a power base in the village. I said seducing a married man wouldn't do that, especially since it's just persuasion, and she replied without missing a beat, I don't want to persuade him. I want to sleep with him. I said moving on, and they began tracking the bandits through a forest by wagon tracks. Okay, again, at this point, if you have not drawn a line in the sand, now is the time. This bard wants to sleep with anything with a pulse and is going to ruin the fun, especially for the rogue here, who is interacting with this world in a very positive manner. For a short while, I was trying to think of why she wanted to outright sleep with the man, since that wouldn't have actually done anything. Yes, I knew of the horny bard stereotype at the time, but she didn't, so that worried me. After some tracking, they find the bandit hideout in the mouth of a cave with one standing guard up front. Rogue Niece wanted to assassinate him, like in Assassin's Creed, but Bard Niece wanted to try something. Because you're not going to sit in my lap and just cuddle. Will you sit in my lap and just cuddle? Nah, that's what I thought. Rogue Niece... God bless it. Rogue Niece said she'll assassinate him if something goes wrong. Bard Niece decides to roll for seduction, and I felt like a smartass because I declared the bandit is gay. He will not be into her no matter how hard she tries. She looks me dead in the eyes, gives me the most bedroom look she can muster, and says, all it'll take is one fuck to change him. And I just about threw up. For reference, I'm demisexual, a micro-label associated to asexuality, but at the time I thought it was just plain asexual. I tell her out of game then and there that that's not how that works, and you can't just change someone's sexuality and that it's homophobic. It delved into a shouting match. Rogue Niece was uncomfortable as hell. I just wanted to have a normal game since I never ran one before that, and Rogue Niece even asked Bard Niece, can we please try something else? In response to her constant seduction attempts. Okay. If the Bard won't change, it might be time to just end this session early and maybe set up a new table with just the rogue, who's clearly being a very good sport and playing along and acting with the world in a positive manner, and finding other players to play along with you at this table. It's time to drop the bard. Let's wrap this story up though. For some reason, that broke Bard Niece enough to outright leave in a huff. Rogue Niece sitting there and me trying to process and cope with the fact my own family was dismissive of that sort of thing. It didn't hit me until I thought about it recently, but the reason it felt so awful was due to my own trauma regarding the exact same thing she was trying to do to that guard. To this day, I don't know why she was trying to seduce everything that moved, and I don't want to know. Never played with her again. TLDR, player tried to have her character sleep with everything that moved, and at one point unintentionally recreated a traumatic event for me. Okay, that was a lot. I get the feeling Bard did some looking around online and may have seen some memes about bards trying to sleep with everything and took it probably as gospel for playing a bard. This is why when you run a one-shot new campaign, etc. with new players, you always need to lay out expectations and draw lines in the sand. This will help curb bad behavior beforehand, and it also gives you a good footing in case somebody starts acting up to remind them that they've been informed of what the social contract is, and you know, this was set up from the beginning, so you need to change your ways. Our next story is from user Some Welsh Guy and is titled, No, You Can't Blow a Hole in the Ship and Kill the Entire Party. A few weeks ago, I decided to run a D&D campaign based in the Mass Effect universe. I made stats for all the races, rules for tech and biotics, Mass Effect's version of space magic, and a few weapons from all 8 of Mass Effect's weapon categories. I was pretty proud of all the homebrew I managed to make for this campaign and was eager to find some players to enjoy it. Made a couple posts of looking for group forums to advertise the campaign and got a decent number of responses. Eventually I settled on 5 players, one of which I probably should have booted during character creation. Okay, I've never seen a Mass Effect TTRPG or homebrew, but this is a really cool idea. I enjoyed the Mass Effect universe, at least for like the first 3 games. I never played Andromeda, but it's a really neat universe. You've got weird unknowable tech. It's clearly some sort of potential weird apocalypse that may have happened, which is fitting for most D&D settings. You know, you've got the equivalent of space magic in there. This could work. It's kind of a neat idea. I like it. Let's get back to our story though. His first character idea was to play a Reaper, a literal Reaper. You know, the 2-kilometer living starships that 1v1 entire fleets without taking damage. His argument was that by essentially being the party ship, they'd save money on repairs and stuff. His second idea was to play Commander Shepard, the literal main character of the games, who is dead by the time this campaign starts, as it's post Mass Effect 3. He went through a few more blatantly overpowered character concepts before I finally talked him down to playing a Turian fighter. His backstory for this character was 2 whole sentences. He's a former soldier who worships stars. He wants to find a way home. Alright, this has red flag written all over it. If you have a player wanting to play something insane like this, either as the universe's BBEG, or a specific main character in the universe, or they keep giving you concepts that are nothing but stupidly overpowered stuff, you might want to reconsider having them play, especially if we're early on pre-session 0. If somebody's acting like this, they're not taking your campaign seriously. A way to avoid this is to give your players a list of the available races and classes immediately from the get-go. That way, if you draw that line, most people aren't going to cross it. Let's keep it going though. Eventually we came to session 0, the players all meet each other, some background information is exchanged, rules are discussed, etc, etc. I noticed that Turian was practically silent during the whole thing. His mic wasn't muted, I checked a few times during the session. He just wasn't engaging with anyone. Okay, well, a lot of people are quiet when they meet new people. That's normal enough, I naively thought. Just gonna stop here. Good on OP for laying out the background info and rules. I will say if a player is being silent during this really isn't a red flag to me. Some players could be just taking everything in. They could be busy taking notes on what the world is, what the other characters might be, stuff like that, or they're just getting a vibe for this new table. So being silent off the get-go is not a horrible thing. Eventually, we reach game night. I give the opening narration, explaining that it will be 3 days until they reach the nearest mass relay, and ask each player in turn to describe their character and tell us what they're doing during these few days of travel. When I reach Turian, he doesn't bother describing his character. Instead, he simply says he wants to detonate a grenade and blow a hole in the side of their starship. His reason? He worships space, so he wants to be outside. Okay, if this is the player's first act, and this is not a joke, it again may be time to remove them from the table. They're very clearly not taking this game seriously, and this is not the table for them. They need to go find a new table. Obviously, I tell him no. He can't willingly destroy their ship since it would kill the entire party and end the campaign right there. He tries to argue, saying that a good DM would find a way to make it work and that I shouldn't say no, only yes and. When I refused to budge, he just told me to go F myself and left the server. The remaining 4 players agreed to keep playing without him, and we had a pretty fun session with the party exploring an abandoned colony full of hostile, unknown aliens. After the session, I found out that Turian had been messaging another player, the only woman in the party, trying to convince her to send him pictures of herself. She never did, and even blocked him when he started to get aggressive with his messages. Always nice when the trash takes itself out, I suppose. Yeah, so good on this guy kind of removing himself. Clearly he is not a match for this table. It's also kind of nasty as fuck that they're trying to solicit nudes from another player that they just met. I'm glad they're not there, and I'm glad them leaving the table didn't completely screw the campaign over. And hopefully they had a lot of fun playing through, this Mass Effect homebrew. Has this ever happened to you? Ugh, it's nighttime during the week and I'm so bored. I wish there was someone I could watch on Twitch. Oh, what good news, totally real person. Are you bored at night during the week? Do you want to talk TTRPGs and watch video games? Well, there's a solution. Davey streams on Twitch during the week from 7 to 10 p.m. Central Time. So come on down if you want to talk TTRPGs, video games, or want to watch me play games such as Coming in Kingdoms, Deliverance 2, or Marvel Rivals. I couldn't think up a fancy name for it, but you should come watch. Wow, thanks Davey, my boredom is cured. You're welcome, totally real person, and you too can benefit from this by watching me on Twitch. I stream normally 7 to 10 p.m. Central during the week, and I hope to see you there. Alrighty, our last story is from Manvetti and is titled Namaste. A few years ago, a seat opened up in a campaign I was playing in. We put up a looking for player post, evaluated some candidates, and picked the one who seemed like the best fit. Over the course of the week, we helped the new guy set up his character. He wanted to play a paladin of the same god that our cleric followed, which seemed great to us as it gave him an immediate in with the party. At this point in the game, the party had just touched down on the settlement we were using as our base before heading out on our next leg of our adventure, so it was a good time to bring a new character into the party. In short, everything seemed to be going well with this new guy's onboarding. When the day of the session came, we started off with some out-of-character welcoming, introductions, etc. Then began the session proper. This started with the cleric meeting the paladin, then introducing him to the rest of the party. After introductions, everyone seemed ready for glory, so we all piled into our ship to sail off towards our next stop. Everyone except the new paladin, that is. He decided that he wanted to stay in town to see what his god wanted him to do. It just so happened that our cleric was the head of the local congregation, the highest ranking official in their city for hundreds of miles in any direction. So he pointed out to the paladin that he'd received signs from their god that this was the way to go. Apparently this wasn't enough. Okay, players. Keep in mind, it is your job to make a character that is willing and wanting to adventure. If you find that your PC does not have a valid reason to adventure and you can't conceive of a reason for this PC to go on adventure, you need a new character. It is not the DM's job to give your character a driving force to adventure when everybody else at the table is good to go. Let's keep it going though. When in-character discussion failed, our DM resorted to outright telling the new guy, the story's going in this direction. If you don't get on the ship, you won't be a part of it. Still, I'll stay on the dock and see what comes along. Thinking he might maybe have been a bit too subtle, the DM tried again. If your character doesn't get on the ship, you won't be a part of this D&D group. But again, he got no traction. I'll wave at them from the dock and stay to take care of things around here. We said our goodbyes, the DM booted him from the Discord, and we never heard from him again. To this day, I still have no idea what his motivation was. His introduction came at the very start of the session, so it's not like he saw our playstyle and decided it wasn't for him. But still, every now and then I think back and have a bit of a chuckle about the paladin, the glorious champion of a militant god, all about fighting the good fight, who was offered the chance for adventure, glory, and a fight to save the world and responded, nah, I think I'll just stay here. Alrighty. There's a chance that the PC wanted to have a moment early on. But if this is the case, you as a player need to try to make it happen in a very specific manner, not just I stay and wait for my god to show up. You know, basically you can't just be like, nah, I just don't want to move the story along. You know, for example, if I was this person, I'd say, I want to go to the temple, or I quickly kneel down and pray to X god for guidance on what I should do next. This could give a clue to your DM then that you might want to do some RPing real quick. And this would allow you to have a little mini moment to then get the, the story continuing on and going. I get the feeling though that this paladin kind of wanted to be a main character and was just trying to be a pain in the ass to force the party to focus on them, but it clearly didn't work. Alrighty, that is going to be it for today. Thank you all for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's video, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe for more. And if you can, please comment down below on your thoughts on either of these 3 stories. I love getting to read through your guys' comments and interacting with them. Don't forget to catch me on Twitch, and I will see you guys all later. Have a good one, everybody.